Did. Okay, these are my audience people. I would wait for you to move that hat. Okay. Move, son.
You're a
Come on
video
now.
star, Robert. Says you're a video star.
He is now because you just said his name and.
I do.
Okay. Yeah, you did.
All right.
Oh, it's about as good as it's gonna get because my camera wouldn't work.
Where's
So
that?
that's all there is to it.
Since you're the director, right?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, including 2 kids sitting here. So I have 7 total.
And some,
Okay.
what about the dogs?
I guess you could call this a informative / persuasive speech. It could be either one. I didn't really know what to do it on, so I just picked the topic that I picked, which can be like a trigger topic for some people because it's talking about depression causing the fact that if you don't have the right treatment done on depression, that it can cause worse issues, and eventually it can cause you to injure in life. So I'll just get right to it. It shouldn't be very long. Do you fight with depression, or have you had your loved ones fight with depression? Depression is a tough thing to live with on a daily basis. You feel as if you're trapped in your own mind 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's something that just comes and goes for some people depending on the amount of depression that they suffer from. There's different forms of depression. There's manic depression, there's bipolar depression, unipolar depression, postpartum depression, which occurs in about 30% of women who are pregnant or who have children. And depending on who you are, you just deal with things differently. You have your good days and your bad days. Some people have more bad than good, and that's essentially what ends up causing these people to eventually commit suicide, because there's a lot of stigma around depression and the fact that you're a weakling if you go try to get help of any kind. The fact that some people like to say that it's all in your mind and that you don't know what you're talking about, that there's nothing wrong with you, that you're looking for extra attention or something of that matter. And it is a real thing, something that people really have a problem with, and I happen to be one of those people who have had a problem with it since I was, a teenager. It's estimated that every 11.9 minutes or so, somebody dies from suicide in the United States, which means that it essentially is an epidemic. In 2015, there were a reported 44,193 people who committed suicide. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people's sons and daughters and wives and husbands and fathers and mothers that can't deal with reality anymore, can't cope with their issues, their problems, whatever's going on in their lives, and are not getting the right treatment and prevention from this happening to them. 121 Americans every day die by suicide. It's a lot of people. It's not a joke. It's not just in these people's heads, as I've said. I have lost at least 3 or 4 people in my lifetime from depression-induced suicide. A couple of these people lived by the stigma and the stereotype that they didn't have any problems, that there was nothing wrong with them, whenever there was something wrong with them. They didn't get the right amount of help that they needed. One of the people that I knew got help, but it wasn't everything that he needed. The first person that I lost, I was the age of 14. He was 18 years old when he took his life. I talked to him almost on a daily basis about his problems. He mentioned to me at least once that he had had thoughts of hurting himself, but that he would never do it. Anytime that you hear anybody having a thought that they're going to hurt themselves, you always take it seriously. You never take it lightly. But in the end, there was nothing that I could do to help this person. So, he was in talk therapy counseling, and it wasn't the right form of counseling that he needed. Later on, I had a friend who was 32 years old who took his life. He had the option of going and doing 25 years in prison, and instead he took his life. He told everybody he wasn't going to go back. He fought with forms of addiction to drugs and alcohol, and had always had problems with depression growing up, and did a lot of time in prison where he didn't get the help that he needed. And then last but not least, I had a friend who was a mother, and a lot of people like to talk badly about her because she was a mother who ended her life. She had problems with addiction, she had problems with depression that weren't taken care of properly, and she was fixing to lose her children to the Child Protective Services system because of these problems that she had. So she spent her last few hours with her children. Her ex came and picked her children up, and that night she ended her life. With the right help and the right prevention and the people talking about the way that it should be talked about, you know, she could have gotten the help that she needed, and she may still be here with us today. Nobody wants to lose their father, their mother, their loved one over something as senseless as depression. I mean, people don't just kill themselves just to kill themselves just because they just feel like it. They do it because they feel like they're dying by being alive, because they feel like they're better off not being here and not being a burden to people. Doesn't have anything to do with anything else. I myself was diagnosed with postpartum depression after both of my children, and then was diagnosed with another form of depression after I lost a child. I had the same thoughts that these people have had, and I had a 2-year-old son at home the first time that I had this thought, which told me that I needed the extra help. But a lot of people are too prideful, they won't get the extra help. Some of the signs that you need to watch out for as far as people with depression or even yourself is tiredness, loss of appetite, loss of interest in everyday activities, routines that you always normally are interested in. You get into the suicide aspect, and you have people that actually talk about suicide that say they're going to end their life, may even joke about it, not really joking about it, but trying to come off as they're joking about it. Same thing, tiredness, isolation, they push their families away. They start giving away all of their belongings, all of their prized possessions that they've had in their lives. They just start handing it over to everybody. Case in point, one of my friends called me and told me, like, I have this and I want to give it back to this person, and there was no reason why he would have ever wanted to do that before, so that should have been a red flag. If you've ever heard that term, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, that's a BS term. I don't use it with either one of my children for the fact that it's not true. If you're talking to somebody in a depressed cycle or whatever, and you tell them that term, it's actually kind of degrading, because words hurt more than anything whenever it comes to somebody who's already depressed. The real term should be, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will rip me apart, because that's essentially what it feels like. Let's see here. I had a PowerPoint presentation that I was going to show that I already sent to the teacher, but I couldn't get it to come up on the computer because I'm having to use it to video, so that's the whole reason why I haven't been able to do that. Depression is an uphill battle. About 80% of people show signs of sunshine coming through the clouds, meaning that whatever treatment they're getting is starting to help them, which it does take time. It can take roughly a month for medication that you're taking to even take effect. But with these forms of treatments, a third of the others have had to have additional help, because whatever treatment they're already getting isn't doing the trick for them. A lot of them just give up. They give up on even trying to get help because the signs are not showing that they're getting the help, so they just think that there is no hope. They already have a feeling that there's no hope, and that just tends to make it worse. The stigma needs to be ended, because the only way that the epidemic itself is going to end, 11,000 people a year,
Penny.
260 something people a day dying
Sure,
from
that
this is ridiculous. If the media and people talked more about this problem, maybe people would be more than willing to get the help that they need. If you know of anyone or you yourself are battling from depression or have any thoughts of suicide, you can call the national hotline. They have it all over the internet, and the phone number is 1-800-273-8255. We also have areas in the Bryan College Station area that can help as well. If you go online and look up SARC, there's supposed to be a rape crisis center, but in actuality, you can call them for anything. I think the number's 979-731-1000, if I'm correct on that. They answer the phone 24 hours a day. They have people on call at home and everything. They answer the phones, and you can remain anonymous through either one of these hotlines if you don't want people to know who you are. It's better to talk to someone and get the help that you need than to go through the hell of dealing with this on a daily basis and eventually feeling like you don't have any way out and ending your own life. Because not only are you ending your life, you're kind of ending the life of all of your loved ones as well by, performing that act. So again, that phone number is 1-800-273-8255. Feel free to call if you need any help.